Well, we're back at it again, folks. It is time to do another double feature where we look at a couple movies that I can't justify doing a solo video for because I don't got the time and I don't want to overcrowd you with a bunch of videos. And it's such a busy season. Like this week alone, I got like 3 new releases I have to cover. Next week, I got like 3 new releases I got to cover. Pretty busy till the end of the year. And then January, there's fuck all. So it's double feature. We're talking 2 new releases, including Emerald Fennell's Saltburn and Ridley Scott's Napoleon. 2 movies I probably could have done a separate video for, but we're here to talk about them. Let's start with Emerald Fennell's Saltburn. She has slowly built a name for herself as somebody to keep an eye out on. I think Promising Young Woman was this really promising directorial debut where a lot of people said, oh, this maybe isn't like the tightest script and it's kind of janky and wonky, but you clearly have a style you want to play with. So I am curious, and we're all curious to see what's next for Emerald Fennell. Well, she goes to make Saltburn, a movie that is very interesting to talk about. This is a divisive film. I don't think that's saying much about it. I have seen clear vocal fans for it online. I have also seen clear people who disdain what she's doing here. For me, Promising Young Woman is a more interesting and better movie. And when it comes to Saltburn, I lie directly in the middle of the good and the bad. This is a fine example of I have no strong thoughts or feelings about this piece. There is stuff in here that I was very excited to get on board with. Barry Keoghan, actor I'm obsessed with. He has picked some really good projects recently, knows where he should be, and I appreciate that. Jacob Elordi, another one of those guys that just has his mind in the right direction to where his career could be. Both of those guys are used perfectly in this film, playing off exactly what you'd represent for both of them. Elordi is like this mysterious creature, this angelic being that the moment you see him, you are enraptured by that. And that becomes the plot of this movie. It is the character of Oliver Quick, played by Barry Keoghan, seeing this guy and just being like, I don't know what it is about you. I got to know what's going on here. So he wants to become his friend. And it's a journey of seeing Oliver become friends with this guy named Felix. He goes to Felix's home during like the break after their school. He hangs out there for a while, and that's when things slowly start to fall apart and you see a bunch of evil machinations forming around the world. Look, this is a story of the haves and the have-nots, the rich and the poor. It's just like we have all this stuff, we're societal elites, and here's just a common man showing up to a place he doesn't know. It's a big illustrious complex, a weird family dynamic. They're just like, there's so many strange people in here that are coming and going, and it looks really good. It looks really good. Like, I will commend Fennell for directing the hell out of this movie. The shots are gorgeous. The colors are gorgeous. The set design is gorgeous. I just couldn't give a shit about what anybody's doing. The script is so messy and janky. It falls down a lot and goes kind of all over the place in so many different directions. It definitely feels like there was no clear ending in sight, and then you kind of start to lead towards an ending where there's like a switcheroo of the ending, and you're like, does that make sense? I guess through like actions it makes sense, but if you think about it, a lot of stuff falls through the cracks, and it doesn't hold up well. And that's a bummer, because if this was like this generation's talented Mr. Ripley, that'd be pretty cool. You know, I think that would respond so much more than just becoming like the niche piece it's gonna be. But I don't like the script. It's not strong. I do think the performances are very good. Keoghan is a talented guy and just knows how to use himself well. Playing low status, playing small and petite against Elordi works well. He has the best chemistry of everybody in the cast, and you love to see that. He just walks into the scene, commands it, even though he's like the submissive one in the scene. That's pretty wicked. Elordi is, of course, fantastic. You love Elordi, you love to see him. But the standouts are two people in particular that are just amazing and captivating women I would follow to the ends of the earth. The brief moments we see Carey Mulligan just show up and have insane chemistry with everybody and just act so insane. And then she leaves and you're like, what? And you're like, that's awesome. And then Rosamund Pike, my God. Talk about a stunning, beautiful woman who is given some really great monologues, and you just see that her just slowly fall into the spiraling descent of like a life she can't escape from. It's really beautiful. Her performance was the one that really stuck out to me, where I'm like, yes, that is how I respond to everything happening. I love her. Everything about her worked so well. Even the stuff with Elordi, who is fantastic, there's stuff in there that I don't think works perfectly. He is kind of a tonally mixed character who sometimes sticks the landing, sometimes doesn't. It's all kind of complicated. And the other relationship that Kyogen has with the other siblings in the house, it's good. It's kind of predictable. This wants to be like, it's erotic, it's sexy, it's dangerous, and there is some straight up really silly imagery in terms of like the erotic sexual stuff. There are ones that I like. There are moments of the eroticism where I'm like, that looks good. It feels perfect to the tone we're going for at this moment. I dig it a lot. And those are more the moments where Kyogen finds the power, where he is the dominant one in the situations. The ones where he is submissive, which is mainly to Felix, is where you're just like, I don't buy what he says later on in the movie, connecting to how he's acting here in this situation. That doesn't make sense. But if you want to see some nude Barry, there's a little bit of nude Barry for you. Overall, this is not an egregious movie. I don't think it's as like risque or erotic or like deep and personal as Fennel thinks it is. It's kind of just like, you're going to roll your eyes a little bit. You might laugh at the stupidity of some stuff. But they're hot people doing hot people things. And I love a good societal just unloading of, look how rich and bitchy we are. That's always a cool thing to see. And if that's Fennel's style, which it kind of seems to be at the moment, I can't complain. I'd be very curious to see what she's working on next. But this vibe, it's very, very mixed. And you just walk away not satisfied or complete, just more like, okay, spent like $15 to see this one, you know? Which is not a feeling I particularly love when it comes to a movie like this. But hot people doing hot people stuff? Fuck, I get it, you know? I like hot people doing hot people stuff. Rosamund Pike could ruin me and I'd be happy. Yeah, I was very excited for this one. I just wish it was more interesting and just had more purpose or agency in its own story. It definitely gets lost in its own creation. As long as it plays off like edgy, but it's not edgy, you know? So, Saltburn, I am going to give a 5 out of 10. Remember when I said right down the middle? Now let's switch ships, or let's switch boats, as Napoleon Bonaparte would call them, and jump over to Ridley Scott's latest film. This is the long-awaited Napoleon story from 85-year-old man Ridley Scott. A guy who in every press tour seems tired and bored and bothered by everything happening around him, which I appreciate. You know what? You clearly deserve to bitch and moan and say fuck off to whoever you want to say that to. So I'll support that endeavor from you, Ridley. And then you get like $200 million from Apple to make a biopic that's historically inaccurate, where nobody has like voice, nobody's accent is appropriate, and you just make a dumb little thing. Napoleon. I'm very mixed on this one too. This is very much in the vein of Saltburn for me as well, where I'm like, okay, I see the vision, Ridley. You hate every single part of this. This movie plays off like Ridley Scott hates Napoleon Bonaparte, hates the French, and hates the idea of going to war. And I'm like, probably. I don't think he loves it. I've never seen Ridley Scott to tote the idea of like, yes, every time I've made like a war movie, it's because I love the aesthetic and I love what we do here. He's openly said nobody likes the French, and he writes fucking Napoleon Bonaparte like he's a cartoon character come to life. A lot of the actions that Napoleon takes in this movie remind me if you crossed like a character from like a Greg Daniels sitcom with Homer Simpson, and they just were told to like, okay, go lead the troops. You're the king now. You're like, I guess so. And you're like, oh, what's going on? It's so dumb and silly, but I kind of respect it for that because it's really Scott not trying to, make this better than it is. He understands this guy is stupid, but he's also like smart in terms of war, but he doesn't understand how to like talk to people or behave in public. He's kind of just a freak, a little creepy doofus guy. And I kind of respect that. Where it's like, yeah, we'll get a bunch of money. We'll get costume. We'll get like time-specific costumes. We'll have a beautiful production. Hundreds of horses and people running in fields. But all surrounded by Joaquin Phoenix just like he got out of bed and just said, I don't want to be here. Ah, rah, rah. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't know. It's great. I love that part about it. I could give two shits about the South of the war. Why do we go to war? For land? Not really, because we don't like conquer anything. The French go to war with like everybody in historically inaccurate places. They do historically inaccurate things in the battle. And there's not like real any like progression with that. They just kind of like war with people because they can, because Napoleon's an idiot. Because he just wants to like be in charge. But then he's like cucked by his wife half the time, where she's like so in love with him and he's so in love with her, but they're just like such a bad toxic pairing that when they're together you're like, these two fucking idiots should not be together. And he like calls on her in the weirdest ways, and you're just like, this is a creepy little guy who's leading a country and he hates everyone and he's so weirded out by how much he loves his wife, and it's just so bizarre. But I kind of respect that. It's like a really dry, expensive comedy. It's like we're watching $200 million of us making fun of Napoleon Bonaparte. And that's kind of badass, where the script is just so specifically a joke. Some specific lines are insane, and it's so pulpy and schlucky and dumb. That's kind of badass, but at the same time, we have so much money poured into like the action sequences where there's like a big budget war going on. We like blow up people and we blow up animals and we like shoot real cannons, and we have like real carriages being tipped over. We have like hundreds of thousands of extras, not 100,000 extras, but we have thousands of extras just running in a pit. And you're like, why are we doing that? And then the next scene will cut to, why does my wife hate me so much? Why do I hate my wife? I'm a miserable old man. And it's like, what? This is so weird. It might be a apt comparison. I don't know. It reminded me a lot of Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon, where you're like, look at the veneer of aristocratness, aristocracy, look at how look at how fabulous and intense and beautiful we are. But it's like, blah, 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 just idiots fighting each other. The courtroom stuff in particular, like the beginning part of the movie, where it's just like, who will lead us now? And everyone's just running at each other to be like, I'm in charge. But they don't sound like that. They just sound like British people. Ridley, what are you doing? I don't hate that you've made this movie. I'm just impressed that you decided you wanted to. Where you're like, yeah, I clearly don't like any of these people or anything going on, but I'll waste Apple's money to make this shit. Why not? They're going to give me the money anyways. I respect that, but what an insane movie. Like, a very peculiar script that does not in any way try to redeem Napoleon as like a cool, smart guy. They make him look like an idiot, and I respect that so much. And Vanessa Kirby is fantastic, because she is given like the emotional crux of being like his muse, and he's cucked by her at the beginning, and then he becomes an asshole. And it's really great that way, but every single shot is so expensive, and the camera moves so well. It's like beautiful for how dumb and silly it is. And I both respect that, and it does not feel egregiously long, but you could tell Ridley could do another hour of this just making fun of a guy. And I would see it. I don't know shit about Napoleon. I know the song by ABBA called Waterloo, because that's where Napoleon did surrender. That's all I know about him. So I don't know about the inaccuracies too much. It doesn't bother me because we're watching a movie. But just a goofy little guy. Just, horny and smelly and angry. And it's really bizarre that this is $200 million. And it was a packed house. It was a packed house when I saw this one. I'm like, do I not understand culture anymore? Do we really not want to see Marvel movies anymore? That Napoleon, this fucked up version of Napoleon, is actually successful? My goodness, what a time to be alive. Two movies that are both incessantly egregious for different reasons and have no real bearing as being interesting, but somehow you can't look away from the atrocities happening on screen. So, Napoleon, I am going to give a 6 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this rendition of Double Feature. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Don't forget, Destiny has brought you this lamb chop. Good luck.